Good day everyone, I am Karima Parati, so I'm here to report the Unit 5 Legal Foundations of ECEd Lesson 1 International Policy Background on Early Childhood Education. Introduction. The principles of early childhood education is being highlighted in a plethora of international policies and standards. These international policies and instructions are premised on the fundamental importance recognizing the right to quality basic education of all learners, especially to those belonging to early childhood. Importantly, these international policies serve as international pillars of early childhood education. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR. In Article 26 of the UDHR states that, first, everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. Second, education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all the nations, racial or religious groups, or shall further the activities of the United Nations of Maintenance of Peace. Third, parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Article 26 of the UDHR enshrines the right to education of every human, while focusing on the children going to those at the stage of early childhood. Education is seen as fundamental, which is essential for the exercise of all other human rights connected, wherein as it promotes individual freedom and contributes definitively to a child's broader empowerment, well-being, and development, at least by ensuring that they are equipped to understand and claim their rights throughout their lives. Article 3 of CAD states that, in order to eliminate and prevent discrimination within the meaning of this convention, states parties thereto undertake a. To abrogate any statutory provisions and any administrative instructions, and to discontinue any administrative practices which involve discrimination in education. B. To ensure by legislation where necessary that there is no discrimination in the admission of people to educational institutions. C. Not to allow any differences of treatment by the public authorities to the national except on the basis of merit or needs in the matter of school fees and the grant of scholarships or any forms specific expense to pupils with study permits and facilities for their pursuit of studies in foreign countries. D. Not to allow in any form of access granted by the public authorities to educational institutions any restrictions or preference based solely on the ground that pupils belong to the particular group. E. To give foreign national residents within their territory the same access to education as is given their own nationals. In Article 4, education from equally accessible to all on the basis of individual rights. There is no allowance for all users, individual and societal laws. To ensure that basic educational rights is equivalent in all cases. Educational institutions must be limited to the population tailoring to the quality of education provided by ethics for the life. We also have a method of educational system. Primary education is usually not included the entire primary education course and continuation of their education on the basis of individual capacity. B. Provide training or the teaching profession without discrimination. By virtue of this, statements of parties of the CADE would lead to employing to, to prescribe discrimination in education based on the grounds specified in particular regarding acts specified in paragraph A, B, C, and D of Article 4. Further, the parties must provide measures based on to ensure that
Hi, good morning everyone. So I am Catherine Nonato, and for today, my report is still under the Unit 5, which is the Lesson 1, International Policy Background on Early Childhood Education. So I will be discussing the Article 13 and the Article 14, and we will know what is under the policies under the two articles. First we will tackle about the Article 13 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, or ICESCR. So in the Article 13, it states that the state parties to the present covenant recognize the right of everyone to education, and they agree that education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and the sense of its dignity, and shall strengthen the respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. So, it is clearly that education is for everyone, whatever group you belong, or whatever status your family belong. So whatever status of your family, so education is for all, because we all believe that education is the key to success. So number 2 is the state parties to the present covenant recognize that with a view to achieving four realization of this right. So there are 4 realization of this right. So first is the primary education shall be compulsory and available free to all. The second one is the secondary education in its forms, including technical and vocational secondary education, shall be made generally available and accessible to all by every appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of free education. So it was already a law that if you are studying a state university, state colleges, so it is under the free tuition law, or we call that the 10931, or the universal access to quality tertiary education, providing free tuition and other school fees for free. The third one is the higher education shall be made equally accessible to all. So, under the C and letter D, the state ni sila sa kung ng free education for all, or the accessible education, which is very relevant karon, which is under sa state universities kinanatay free education or free tuition fee, no? So walay bayad kung iswila ka sa mga state universities, state colleges, or including kanang mga vocational or non-vocational nga mga schools. The last one, the development of system of schools at all levels shall be actively pursued, and adequate fellowship system shall be established, and the material conditions of teaching staff shall be continuously improved. So natay gitawag ng mga fellowship systems kanang mga sponsored by the parish or mga church. So mostly anay tawag sila og Catholic Church, and nasa uban mga funded sa mga dagkong mga kumpanya, so sponsored sila. And then conditions of teaching staff shall be continuously improved, so dapat kanang masabay po so innovative ang teaching or pedagogy of a teacher, so dapat mo invest po siya og mga modern technologies or modern teaching ways, aside from traditional ways, no. So maunang ubang teachers kim gamit na og kuan through this from their discussion gamit sa mga DLP projector like that to easiest way na siya to provide lessons to students. Number 3 is the state parties to the present covenant undertake to have respect from the liberty of parents and, when applicable, legal guardians to choose for their children's schools or other than those established by the public authorities which conform to such minimum educational standards as may be laid down or approved by the state, and ensure the religious and moral education of their children in conformity with earned convictions. So, not the right ang parents kung asa i-enroll nila ilang mga anak. So, dili, as long as nga kana siya moral na siya sa state, approved by the state, kana nga school, legal, ana siya, anyway, anywhere nila ipa-eskwela ang ilahang anak. Okay, number 4 is no part of this article shall be construed so as to infer with the liberty of individuals and bodies to establish and direct educational institutions, subject always to the observance of the principles set forth in paragraph 1 of this article, to observance of the principles of the requirement that the education given in such institution shall conform to such minimum standards as may be laid down by the state. So, plus anjud siya kanang approve sa state, and kanang wala jud kanang mabag-o, wala ang usbon, dapat follow jud siya sa unsay naa sa kaninga article, which is the free education to everyone, and then kanang makapili ang isa ka ginikanan asa iyang makabuot siya asa eskwelahan iyang anak, as long as nga ang eskwelahan is kuan siya approved by the state or nagsunod siya sa for example sa elementary o secondary kay DepEd, and then sa tertiary is nagsunod siya sa mga policy under the Commission on Higher Education, which is the CED. So okay, the last one is the Article 14. So ang Article 14 is all about sa kuan siya principle of compulsory education free of charge for all. So it states nga dapat ang primary and secondary education kay accessible na siya sa students, sa everyone, sa children na gusto mo makat-on, free of charge na siya na until nga makompleta nila ilang 14 years of schooling, no. Yeah, kuan sa siya kana nasad sa kuan nga dapat at the age of, di ba, starts from daycare na then move sila sa kindergarten, so grade 1 to grade 6 makompleta nila na grade 7 sa secondary, grade 7 junior high school, junior high school, so grade 7 from grade 10, and then the 2 years which is the senior high school nga kanang diha nila may improve ilang sa ilang gusto nga course kaon, and the tertiary education, and then diha ma-develop ilang skills, ilang interest nga asa jud nga field sila interested, o ang school is has the responsibility nga to provide quality education and kuan jud siya kani innovative ways.
Good day, everyone. I am Alma Lubidika. I'm back again for a new topic, which is General Comment 13 on the Right Education, Article 13 of the ICESCR. What is ICESCR? ICESCR is International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So, there are essential features of the right to education are delineated by the General Comment 13. This General Comment identifies 4 essential elements of the right to education: availability, accessibility, acceptability, and adaptability. So the first one is availability. Availability functioning educational institutions and programs have to be available in sufficient quantity within the jurisdictions of the state party. Availability from the word avail. This can avail the education and available materials from the institutions. So what they require to function depends upon numerous factors, including the developmental context within which they operate. For example, all institutions and programs are likely to require buildings or other protection from the elements, sanitation facilities for both sex, safe drinking water, trained teachers, receiving domestically competitive salaries, teaching materials, and so on, while some will also require facilities such as library, computer facilities, and information technology. Accessibility. So, accessibility, educational institutions and programs have to be accessible to everyone without any discrimination within the jurisdictions of the state party. Accessibility from the word access, kay maka-access na sila education and accessible technology and all. So, accessibility has three overlapping dimensions. Non-discrimination, education must be accessible to all, especially the most vulnerable groups in law and in fact, without discrimination on any of the prohibited grounds. The first one is physical accessibility. Education has to be within safe physical reach, either by attendance at some reasonably convenient geographic location, example is neighborhood school, or via modern technology, example, access to a distance learning program. So, next is economic accessibility. Education has to be affordable to all. This dimension of accessibility is subject to the differential wording of Article 13 in relation to primary, secondary, and higher education, whereas primary education shall be available or free to all. State parties are required to be progressively introduce free secondary and higher education. Acceptability. Acceptability is the form and substance of education, including curricula and teaching methods, have to be acceptable to students and in appropriate cases. Parents, this is the subject to the educational objectives required by the Article 13 or 1 and such minimum educational standard as may be approved by the state. So, acceptability from the word accept, maka-accept na sila og unsay naa sa kana nga education. They accept what the institutions give to them. For example, relevant, culturally appropriate, and of good quality. Adaptability. Adaptability education has to be flexible, so it can be adapt to the needs of changing societies and communities, and respond to the needs of students within their diverse social and cultural settings. So, adaptability, from the word adapt, kay they can adapt from the education and they can adjust easily and they can manage sa education, sa settings, and the environment. UNCRC or United Nations Conventions on the Right of the Child. The UNCRC is the most complete statement of child's rights ever produced and is the most widely ratified international human rights treaty in history. Article 28 of the UNCRC states that states parties recognize the right of the child to education, and with a view to achieving this right progressively and on the basis of equal opportunity, they shall particular in. So, state parties kay naghatag siya pag-allow sa mga rights sa child through education. So, A. Make primary education compulsory and available free to all. So, make it available to all children. B. Encourage the development of different forms of secondary education, including general and vocational education. Make them available and accessible to every child, and take appropriate measures such as the introductions of free education and offering financial assistance in case of need. So, kanang they encourage sa lain-lain nga form sa education. So, diri makita nga free ang ipag-eskwela sa usa ka bata and they offer financial assistance if ever need sa isa ka child. C. Make higher education accessible to all on the basis of capacity by every appropriate means. D. Make educational and vocational information and guidance available and accessible to all children. E. Take measures to encourage regular attendance at schools and the reductions of dropout rates. 2. States parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that school discipline is administered in a manner consistent with the child's human dignity and conformity with the presence of convention. It is required to measure the school discipline to take control. 3. States parties shall promote and encourage international cooperation in matters relating to education, in particular with a view to contributing to the elimination of ignorance and illiteracy throughout the world and facilitating access to scientific and technical knowledge and modern teaching methods. So, it is to promote and encourage and to teach children to facilitate scientific and to know about technical knowledge and modern teaching methods.
Morning, proof is our continuation report. Further, Article 29 of the UNCRC states that 1. States parties agree that the education of the child shall be directed to a. The development of the child's personality, talents, and mental and physical abilities to their fullest potential. B. The development of respect for the human rights and fundamental freedoms and for the principles enshrined in the center of the United Nations. Letter C. The development of respect for the child's parents of his or her own cultural identity, values, for the national values of the country in which the child is living, the country from which he or she may originate, and for the civilization different from his or her own. Letter D. The preparation of the child, responsibility, life in free society, and the spirit of understanding, peace, tolerance, equality of sexes, and friendship among all people, ethnic, national, and religious groups, and persons of indigenous origin. Letter E. The development of respect for the natural environment. And number 2. No part of the present article or Article 28 shall be construed so as to interfere with the liberty of individual and bodies to establish and direct educational institutions, subject always to be the observance of the principles set forth in paragraph 1 of the present article, and to be requirements that the education given in such institution shall conform to such minimum standard as may be laid down by the state. This Article 29 of the UNCRC says that a child or a young person, education should help their mind, body, and talent be the best they can. It should also build their respect for others and also the whole world. And they should also learn to respect like their rights and the rights of others, their freedom and the freedom of others, their parents also. And the last is the identity, language, and values of the countries, including their own. And education should prepare children and young people for a responsible life in a free society. It should teach them on how to live in an understanding and tolerant way that is non-violent and that respect the environment. The 1990 Injunctine Declaration. In 1990, the International Literacy Year, about 1,500 delegates from 155 countries and representatives of some 150 governmental and non-governmental and intergovernmental organizations met at the World Conference on Education for All in Jomtien, Thailand, and called upon all countries to universalize adequate basic education. The World Conference of Education for All was a historic demonstration of the will and commitment of countries to establish in the area of the child, adult, and family and for education a new basis for overcoming inequality and generating new opportunities for eradicating poverty. Emphasis was placed not only access to basic education, but also on the quality of education and actual learning outcomes. The World Conference on Education for All Declaration laid down in the World Declaration on Education for All of the following. 1. Recalling that education is a fundamental right for all people, women and men of all ages throughout our world. 2. Understanding that education can help ensure us a safer, healthier, more prosperous, and environmentally sound world, while simultaneously contributing to social, economic, and cultural progress, tolerance, and international cooperation. 3. Knowing that education is an indispensable key to, though not a sufficient condition for personal and social improvement. 4. Recognizing that traditional knowledge and indigenous cultural heritage have a value and validity in their own right, and a capacity to both define and promote development. 5. Acknowledging that overall the current provision of education is seriously deficient and that it must be made more relevant and qualitative qualitatively improved and made universally available. Recognizing that sound basic education is fundamental to the strengthening of higher level of education and of scientific and technological literacy and capacity, and thus to self-reliant development. And 6. Recognizing the necessity to give to present and coming generations an expanded vision of and a renewed commitment to basic education to address the scale and complexity of the challenges proclaimed of the following. Based on it, it says that every person, child, youth, and adult shall be able to benefit from educational opportunity designed to meet their basic needs, and these needs comprise both essential learning tools such as literacy, numeracy, oral expression, and problem solving to develop their full capacity to live and work dignity, to participate fully in development, to improve the quality of their lives, to make informed decisions, and to continue learning. The scope of basic learning needs and how they should be met varies with individual countries and cultures, inevitably changes with the passage of time. Basic learning needs of adults and children must be addressed wherever they exist. At least they develop and low-income countries have special needs which require priority and international support for the basic education in the 1990s.
Good day, everyone. I am Jennifer A. Noval, and I am going to have the continuation about the topic, the Docker Framework for Action. Corollary to these goals, as their respective strategies, the participants in this World Education Forum pledge that first, mobilize strong national and international political commitment for education for all, develop national action plans that and enhance significantly investment in basic education. Second, promote EFA policies within a sustainable and well integrated sector framework clearly linked to poverty elimination and developed strategies. Third, ensure the engagement and participation of civil society in the formulation, implementation, and monitoring of strategies for educational development. Fourth, develop responsive participatory and accountable systems of educational governance and management. Fifth is meet the needs of education systems affected by conflict, natural calamities, and instability, and conduct educational programs in ways that promote mutual understanding, peace, and tolerance, and that help to prevent violence and conflict. Sixth, implement integrated strategies for gender equality in education, which recognize the need for changes in attitudes, values, and practices. Seventh, implement as a matter of urgency education programs and actions to combat the HIV or AIDS pandemic. Eight, create safe, healthy, inclusive, and equitably resourced educational environments conducive to excellence in learning with clearly defined levels of achievements for all. Ninth, enhance the status, moral, and professionalism of teachers. Tenth, harness new education and communication technologies to help achieve EFA goals. 11th, systematically monitor progress towards EFA goals and strategies at the national, regional, and international levels. And 12, lastly, build on existing mechanisms to accelerate progress towards educational for all. So these six goals and 12 strategies rather set in the Docker framework for action, and then are the highlights of the Docker framework or for action, signifying the international community's collective commitment to ensure that the basic learning needs to every child or National IFA Forum or the National EFA Forum. Under the Dakar framework, it was also realized that the heart of EFA activity lies at the country level. In the line with this, national EFA forums will be strengthened or established to support the achievement of EFA. All relevant ministries and national civil society organizations will be systematically represented in these forums. They should be transparent and democratic and should constitute a framework for implementation at subnational levels. Countries will prepare comprehensive national EFA plans by 2022 at the latest for those countries with significant challenges such as complex crises or national disasters. Special technical support will be provided by the international community. So there are 12 each national EFA plan will do. So, namely, first, be developed by government leadership in direct and systematic consultation with national civil society. Second, attract coordinated support of all development partners. Third, specify reforms addressing the six EFA partners. Seventh, fourth, establish a sustainable financial framework. Fifth, be time bound and action oriented. Sixth, include midterm performance indicators. Seventh, achieve a synergy of all human development efforts through its conclusion within the national development planning framework and process. All right. The next topic will be recorded by Miss Caril. Thank you.
The Philippine response. The Philippine response, reaffirming the vision set in 1990 World Declaration, committed itself to the same by coming up with the Philippines EFA 2015 National Action Plan titled Functionally Literate Filipinos, an Educated Nation. The EFA 2015 plan emphasizes the need to provide basic for all and add dimension to what has been thus far almost exclusively school-based education. The EFA 2015 plan emphasized the urgent need to respond to the learning needs to youth and adults who are either have never been in school, have dropped out, reverted to illiteracy, or need basic advanced skills to find jobs. Also, the EFA 2015 plan suggested a viable alternative learning system to formal schooling that, together with the schools, can ensure that minimum learning achievement will be a reality for all Filipinos. Consequently, the EFA 2015 plan emphasizes that educational opportunities are channels of learning which can become effective adults of values orientation, consciousness, and information useful and relevant to a wide range of social goals for EFA 2015 plan. That's all, and thank you.